Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope we're having a lovely day. So there are at least two people that are not having a lovely day right now, and that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. I've gotten a lot of emails asking about what I think of this choking death on the subway that happened very recently in New York City. The TLDR here is that there was a gentleman on the subway that started screaming at people, and there was a Marine that just so happened to be in the subway car that grabbed him and put him in a chokehold, and as a result of the chokehold, the person that was screaming at people has died. And this has really sparked all of the normal tensions that you can imagine when this type of thing happens, especially when the Marine is white and the person who died was black. This is just, again, when you want to watch the video, you don't get to see the entire thing. To be clear, there doesn't appear to be any video of what the screaming was like prior to this. Nobody seemed to be filming at that point. But, this is just... It's sad. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like, you know how it ended. You don't have to watch it as it's happening. It kind of sucks that this actually happened. And there are a lot of people that are, aggravated about this. And I thought we'd dig into it. So we have Mark Levine, which I believe is the Manhattan Borough president, who said, "I saw Jordan Neely perform his Michael Jackson routine many times on the A train. He always made people smile. Our broken mental health system failed him. He deserved help, not to die in a chokehold on the floor of the subway." And I can understand that sentiment, that, somebody who has a mental health issue in a city with a budget of $100 billion would be nice if there was some way to actually help them out. But then there is the other side of this, which is the blatantly obvious issue of you have a man that is screaming on the subway in a semi-threatening manner. And what do you do when this happens on such a regular basis? One person said, "Until we fix and improve systemic issues, mental health support alone cannot fix this. The intersection of multiple systems created intentionally to oppress failed him. May his memory forever be a blessing." And that's where this starts to get a little bit out of control for me. Is this really intentionally done to oppress? Were the city council just thinking to themselves one day, how can we make life worse for mentally ill people? Or is it just a case of, how do we balance the really difficult issue of civil liberties with the fact that there are people walking the streets that think there's nothing wrong with them in spite of the fact that they're clearly insane, but so far they have not committed a serious felony, they've only committed a bunch of misdemeanors, so it's really difficult to do that whole, remanding them without bail or a trial or anything like that to an insane asylum. The things that bother me the most are the ideological oversimplifications people tell themselves in order to pretend that there are easy solutions to complex problems. This comes from one of the articles that I've linked down below. In a city with a functioning mental health infrastructure, Neely would have long ago gotten help. This, of course, is far easier said than done. Very important to highlight this fact because many people just say, we should have better mental health infrastructure. Why don't we take care of these people? Easier said than done, and hinges on much more than robust funding. It's almost impossible to force help upon an unwilling individual, often because they don't acknowledge their own mental state. New York has limited legal tools to compel treatment, all very difficult to impose. Moreover, civil libertarians have attacked the small but important steps that Mayor Adams has taken to try to force treatment upon the mentally ill and potentially dangerous. Neely had a long record with more than 40 arrests and was being pursued by cops for an alleged 2021 assault. How many people here know somebody that badly needs help for something? How many people here also have a friend that under no circumstances would ever accept help for that particular thing? Lots of people have issues and do not want help for those issues because they do not believe that they are the problem. I'll give you one example. So this is one that I remember finding about 2 weeks ago when I was just Googling crazy New York City subway person, and this showed up, and I just thought I would share it with you because this is something that happens very, very commonly. You'll see stuff like this if you take the train regularly, the way I did between the years of 2002 and 2018 before I grew a brain, built an e-bike, and never took the subway again. To be 100% clear, just so there's no confusion, the clip that I'm going to play is not of the person that we are talking about in this video. It is just one of the many, many random encounters that you will find in the New York City subway that somebody just so happened to film.
Faggot-ass Caribbeans back to them motherfucking... Take them back to Europe with y'all. Gay-ass Caribbean, African shit. Shit's annoying. Fucking gay-ass gorilla looking... Shut up, your ugly body. Nasty-ass, mutating, permutating, corrugating, medium-laden skin. Shut up, your body don't even last long enough. I'm gonna look younger than him by the time he's my age. I don't care about them ugly-ass kids in your race. Shut up. Monkey. Fucking plastic-ass body. Little debilitated, enervated, emasculated, feeble, incapacitated, indisposed, emaciating, attenuating, tenuous body. I don't care about you. Shut up, you white monkey. You a dog in this country. You're a fucking dog. You're nothing over here. You are a dog. Shut up. I'm Black American. I'm over you.
Now, one of the reasons I think many people are on different sides of this issue and can't imagine the perspective that many New Yorkers are taking, which is, even though he was yelling at people, he didn't deserve to be assaulted or to die, is because many people don't understand that many of the crazy people that walk around New York City are kind of like mimes. What do I mean by that? Again, from my experience using public transit from 2002 through 2018, and the 3 additional years I lived in New York City after I got an e-bike, still have to deal with crazies from time to time, 99% of the crazy people you'll actually meet in New York City are like mimes. You know those people that go, ow. You know, the people that pretend that there is this mystical barrier between you and them. So they will scream, they will get up close to you, yell, walk in circles, say the worst, nastiest crap in the world, but at the end of the day, they don't actually do anything to you. And if you were to step away, you'll notice that if you just step like 2 inches to the right, they'll keep yelling at the imaginary person that was in the place that you were. They're not even necessarily yelling at you, they're just yelling into the ether because they're nuts. And the way that you typically learn to deal with the mime, you don't hit the mime because, again, he's a mime. He is in his own little box. You're not going to hit the mime. You just let the mime do its thing, and then it walks on to the next subway car, and such as that is that. Again, I took the buses, the trains, and the subways, whether it is 1 p.m. or 1 a.m., since I did a lot of house call work, and I used to work at Avatar Studios until 2 or 3 in the morning for a long period of time. I took the subway every single day for about 16 years. I had to deal with a lot of crazy people like this, and not once did I ever have any sort of physical altercation with any of these people on the train or on the bus. I have had physical altercations with people off the train or the bus, but that's another topic for another video. But on the train or the bus, I never had to deal with any sort of physical altercation. So that's where I think some of the disconnect is coming, where you have people that live outside of New York City that are going, oh my God, I can't believe somebody didn't clock him. Whereas people who live inside New York City, who are used to the concept of the crazy person kind of being like a mime, where again, if you just pretend they're not there, they leave you alone, going, I can't believe that somebody would have actually physically hit or assaulted that particular individual. I think a lot of that is kind of lost in the discussion that you see online between people who are not used to this. Now, do I think that you should have to get used to that? No, and that's why I left New York City. That's one of many, many reasons that I left, and it's one of the reasons that I feel I had a much more positive and happy outlook and personality when I started taking my e-bike above ground rather than going below ground and dealing with that garbage every single day. But for the most part, as weird and as crazy as the people there are, they often are not out to hurt you. But at the same time, they are not going to acknowledge their mental state. And in order for those individuals to receive help, they need to acknowledge their mental state. And a lot of the people that are talking about how mental health needs to be better, this, that, and the other, oftentimes are the exact same people that would say that if this person were involuntarily remanded to a psych ward, that would be wrong. That would be a violation on his civil liberties. How dare they do that to him? The very same person, in my opinion, that's going to tweet this type of thing about how we are intentionally oppressing mentally ill people, I guarantee you are going to be the exact same people that are virtue signaling saying, how dare you, when they actually drag somebody like this off to the psych ward so that we're not forced to deal with them. What is it that this guy actually said? Mr. Vasquez said in an interview that he was on the F train going northbound on his way to a date when the victim boarded the train and began yelling, I don't have food. I don't have a drink, and I'm fed up, the man screamed, according to Mr. Vasquez. I don't mind going to jail and getting life in prison. I'm ready to die. Soon after, the 24-year-old man grabbed him. Mr. Vasquez said that the rider who was screaming was frightened, but had not assaulted anyone. And again, this is one of the many, many reasons why I don't F with public transit anymore. Listen, Not Just Bikes, no offense. You have a great channel. I love the Not Just Bikes channel. I agree with him a lot of the time. I am never getting on a subway system ever again because I dealt with that shit for 16 years and I'm done with it. I don't care if I have to deal with car dependency. I'll sit in traffic from time to time. I agree. It would be nice to live in a walkable place. That being said, the reality of it is this. Even though they are mostly like mimes and do not actually touch you, and that is a topic we will get to later, that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to deal with it. No, none of this means you deserve to die. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has a painfully hard judgment ahead in determining whether or not to seek charges. The Marine will claim self-defense, but aggressive panhandling doesn't license homicide, nor does hurling insults or garbage, and New Yorkers should not heed his example. And as much as I hate to agree with Alvin effing Bragg, I kind of understand where he's coming from. Now again, when it came to the Jose Alba case, I was 100% in favor of the bodega owner who stabbed in the neck the person who was assaulting him. For those of you who don't remember the Jose Alba case, there was a gentleman who runs a bodega. He's in his 60s or something. He's kind of like a feeble-looking old man. Somebody comes in and has an altercation with him and says, my boyfriend's going to come here and F you up. She leaves. The boyfriend comes in and proceeds to actually start effing him up. He starts hitting this old man that's damn near twice his age, that looks like a feeble old dude that owns a bodega. So the guy saw a box cutter or something, did this, stabbed him in the neck, and in my opinion, he got what he deserved. He effed around and he found out. I did not feel bad at all, and I thought that it was a travesty that that bodega owner was charged. This here is again, this is a little different, because just because I've had that experience of being on the subway so many times with a crazy person, again, if that guy got punched in the face, would I feel bad? No. If that person got hit with a baseball bat, would I feel bad? No. If he got a chokehold for 10 seconds, would I feel bad? No. A chokehold for 30 seconds where he's dead? That's a bit much even for me. Again, that's just again, to be clear, I am not as trained as a U.S. Marine, but I've taken enough martial arts classes over the course of my life to know that there are different ways that you can handle a situation. There's a certain degree, if you do this, you're going to maybe cripple somebody or kill them versus just hurt them. And I think that if you have been trained by the United States Marine Corps, that you probably know the difference in these things, and you probably know that you may have not had to legit keep the guy in a chokehold because he was yelling and panhandling, and you probably didn't have to do it for the full 30 to 40 seconds that would result in him being dead. So I am a little bit mixed on this. And to be honest with you, the real issue that I see here, the one that really kind of underpins everything to me, is the fact that we are even going over whether or not it was this person's fault or that person's fault, rather than just staring blankly at New York City government and going, why are you even making this our problem to solve? You have a mentally ill person that is screaming at people on the subway, and then you have a Marine that's okay, you know what? I don't know if he's about to hit somebody or do something awful, so I'm going to take this on myself to make sure that he does not wind up like one of those crazy people that is pushing people into the subway or hurting people or stabbing them or something else. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to take it in my own hands. Why are we even getting to the point where a city with a $100 billion budget is causing citizens and mentally ill people to take these matters into their own hands? But above all, there are these serious cracks that I'm kind of starting to notice in society more and more. And I think, again, we're focusing on the people that are falling into them and how they're falling into them, rather than the fact that this giant crack is getting bigger and bigger. So you have again, people panhandle in the subway all the time. They go, can I get some food? Can I get this? Blah, blah, blah. They yell, but they don't yell I'm ready to die. I'm ready to go to prison. Rawr! That mentally ill person that's screaming and doing all that shit, he kind of turned it up to 11. Conversely, you would then have people that get pissed off at the homeless dude. Maybe smack him in the face. Maybe punch him. Maybe choke him for 10 seconds. But to have a Marine actually then go and kill him, again, that Marine also turned it up to 11. These are problems that have existed for a very long time. I lived in New York City for 32 years. I took the subway for 16 years of my life. I'm well aware of what it is like. And this has always been there underneath the surface in some way. But now it's kind of getting turned to 11. And for almost every single issue that we're talking about in society, they all seem to kind of stem from the fact that these cracks that we have are just starting to get much wider, much more frequent, and much more violent. Whether we're talking about worker rights, whether we're talking about any sort of issues that you have with people shooting each other, whether we're talking about relationships, like men getting more pissed off at women, women getting more pissed off at men, or just shit like this in the subway, it all seems to be being more frequent and happening more often. And I think, to be clear, I don't have a solution for this. I do not have a solution for this. I wish I did. I wish I was that smart. I wish I was that capable. But we're addressing it at the wrong level. This just seems like we're addressing it at the wrong level. Like the fight over, he didn't deserve to die. Well, he was arrested 40 times, but he was, he was a nice moonwalker. And again, this is the other part that actually absolutely effing kills me. Like this stuff over here. Like they show him moonwalking. And look, he's moonwalking. See? Look, he's a great Michael Jackson impersonator. Ignore the fact that he's been arrested 40 times and was screaming at people on the subway after being arrested 40 times in a threatening fashion. Let's just pretend that didn't exist because he moonwalked. Like, again, when you read so many of the articles that are discussing this, they keep discussing the fact that he moonwalked. And again, something tells me if I got in trouble or I was arrested 40 times for doing effed up shit in the subway, it's hard for me to imagine that my moonwalking routine would get me out of it. And like, yes, I genuinely, one of the things that aggravates me when I read about these things in general is just people that think that it is this easy. Like, again, until we fix and improve systemic issues, mental health support alone cannot fix this. The intersection of multiple systems created intentionally to impress failed him. And you have to think about this. You really have to think about this. The reason that people like this cannot be involuntarily remanded to an asylum is because we do have civil liberties in this country. We do have a very, very, very high threshold for the point at which the state decides you no longer deserve freedom because you have committed a misdemeanor. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, if this guy was screaming on the subway, he was asking for money, but he was screaming and being erratic on the subway, was that a felony that the guy committed, or was that a misdemeanor? And if somebody commits a misdemeanor, do we get to remand them without a trial to a mental asylum? These are a lot of difficult questions. This is stuff that's not going to be solved easily. And the people that just say, spend more money, or this is just because it's racist, or blah, 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 they're ignoring the fact that there are a lot of very difficult questions that have to be answered before we can even remotely get to the point of coming up with a rational solution to all of this. But above all, I really hope that people kind of take away from this is that all the arguments that we're having now, again, a lot of the arguments, whether we're talking about like the Kevin Samuels comment section versus Reddit r/2x chromosomes, or, the NRA crowd versus the people that point out all the mass shootings, or, the people, the Black Lives Matter people versus the I want to be able to take a subway and not get screamed at for all this stuff that we're talking about right now. There are these basic cracks at the foundation of society that are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of these issues we are discussing, they're kind of higher up on the tree. These are all branches on the tree, but like the trunk of the tree is falling apart. And it's falling into the earth. And I really think we got to focus on that, figure out how and why to make that better. I'm not saying don't talk about these issues. I'm just saying, like, I really do feel like we got to focus on the foundation a lot more. And to be clear, I'm not trying to be holier than thou there. I do not have a solution for any of this crap. I wish I did. The best I can do is tell you what to do if you have a boot looping A2141 motherboard, which is unfortunately a skill that's becoming more and more useless as time goes on. But yeah, that's my take on all of this. Again, to be clear, like when I see somebody saying, he didn't deserve to die, he was just a moonwalker, it's like, well, yeah, he kind of got arrested 40 times he was doing this. But the people that are like, yeah, F around and find out, again, no, you don't, again, with this case, with the Jose Alba case, absolutely in defense of self-defense, cleared on all charges, 100% happy with the fact that the guy that defended himself was cleared on all charges, F around and find out, good. In this case, it's like, come on, man, like, really? And again, it's not even like you're saying this is some random untrained person. We are talking about a United States Marine. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Like, do I think the guy should go to prison for murder? Probably not murder, but like, I'm kind of disappointed. But above all, what disappoints me is the fact that we're even at the point where this is a thing. I'm very disappointed at the fact that this is a thing. Again, we're at the point where normal, everyday citizens are put in the situation to have to deal with this. And again, this is just bubbling and boiling over. Why do normal citizens have to deal with this? Like, why does a normal citizen have to think to themselves, okay, do I do the chokehold for 10 seconds versus 30 seconds? How does this work? If it's 10 seconds, maybe he gets back up and hurts me. If it's 30 seconds, maybe he dies and I get a homicide charge. Like, this is not the type of stuff anybody who is spending $2 or $3 for a MetroCard swipe should have to think about to get from one side of the city to the other. And again, I love the Not Just Bikes YouTube channel. I am a fan of that channel. I watch it and I enjoy the content. But sometimes I imagine that some of the people in that audience may not understand why people are just a little bit about public transportation when stuff like this goes unchecked for damn near 2 or 3 decades and just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And again, this is one of those things that I think a lot of people who are a little bit more liberal may not understand when they point to crime statistics and they point out the crime statistic of a particular area and say, look, you actually have higher crime statistics in your area than my area, so why would you want to move to that area? You guys are hypocrites for ever even mentioning that you don't want to be around crime. And I think one of the things that's really important to understand here is that when something like this happens, this probably is not reported as a crime.
You look younger than him by the time he's my age. You his body. I don't care about you. Shut up, you white monkey. You a dog.
Again, something like this is probably not reported as a crime. Does this contribute to your negative feelings over the course of your day? 100%. May this contribute to you feeling threatened, like somebody or something may harm you or your family because, again, they're traveling with a kid? Absolutely. Does this heighten your cortisol levels? Absolutely. Is that reported as a crime? 100%. I guarantee you that that was never reported as a crime. So many people may not understand why it is people who will complain about crime in a city, well, they'll say, well, look at the statistics. Look, it's really low. But again, that was not reported. I guarantee you something like that was not reported. And it's really one of the things that that just doesn't enter the conversation when we are purely looking at statistics. Because I do find I do find people like doing the whole cherry picking statistics thing. I see it on the right a lot. And I do tend to see liberals say things like, well, look, the statistics show that we technically have a lower instances of crime here. So why do you even care? Why do you even mention it? I genuinely believe that you can have an area that actually has a higher reported instance of crime while simultaneously having a better quality of life if every other section of your day does not involve you having these types of interactions, does not involve you having to have a feeling of a heightened sense of awareness at all times, because at all times you never know what could happen to you, and it just starts to get annoying after a while. That lowers the quality of your day. That really lowers the quality of your day. And dare I say it, it might actually be better to live in an area where you have 2% more crime, but for all the other parts of your day, you don't have to deal with that kind of barrage of hatred and misery and aggravation from unhinged and unstable people that, again, is never going to make its way into the crime statistics. Even if nothing ever actually happens to you, if you have to be on that heightened sense of alert all the time because you're surrounded by this type of stuff, it just kind of lowers your quality of life. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll be honest with you, I tend to prefer doing these types of videos as live streams because I always wind up leaving something out that's really, really important. I'm not very good at organizing my thoughts when it comes to these things. I have kind of an ad hoc way of going about it, so I'm sure I left something out that's probably incredibly important, and maybe we'll discuss that later. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. If you live in New York City, you might just be better off getting an e-bike rather than taking the subway. Check out ebikes.ca. The people like Grin are really cool people, and get yourself a bike. Again, when I started traveling above ground and I swore off public transportation, it made my life better. I could hear not just bikes like screaming and seething in his seat, but yes, when I decided to get on my bike and never take public transportation again in a major city, I was legitimately happier. And you probably will be too, because you're not going to be dealing with any of this crap. And if you are, you're not going to be stuck in a subway car with them because you can't just get out of the subway car. You could just take your e-bike and go in the other direction, which is great. E-bikes are amazing and beautiful and an amazing way to escape the absolute insanity of a city. It literally feels like a cheat code. I would not go back to New York City if I didn't have an e-bike. Actually, you know what? I'll just end the video on this note. I would not go back to New York City. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.